Hello, hello. Hope everyone is having an awesome Tuesday and a good week so far. I am having an awesome week so far. I had a really cool intensive yesterday. We had lit up live coaching. Some of the partnership clients had their first official session today, and some for the rest of the week, so that's pretty fun. And now I'm on here with you guys, and that's always fun. So today I want to talk about the one thing that business will always be about. I'm sure if you've been reading my content this week and paying attention to what I've been doing, you probably know what this is, but it's still worth saying, and it's still worth having a conversation about. So the one thing that business will always be about is relationship building and relationships in general. So if you can master relationships, none of that other fancy stuff matters. If relationship building feels really tough for you, all of that fancy stuff still doesn't matter. I've seen like so many things as we've like been in the new year and been, in 2017 that have been like the new things you have to know to like keep up in business in 2017, or like the new cool thing that you have to be aware of, and and like in some ways that's true, right? Like there's always new things for us to know or find out about or grow in. Facebook was one of those new things at some point, and obviously that's worked out pretty well for some of us. But the piece of it being like, I think people freak out about that, and they're like, oh my God, what's the new thing that I have to know, and and like really it doesn't matter. It's just like all of these things are new ways to do the same old thing, which is build relationships, right? Hey Jessica, hey Sabrina, thank you guys for joining me. Hi Donna, are you home now, or are you still traveling the world? So yeah, I think so many new business owners kind of come into this space and think, there's all these things they don't know, all of this stuff that's so hard for them, all of these things that they have to figure out. And certainly in some ways there are, right? Like, I'm not trying to make light of any of that, but like if you just started with relationships, all of that other stuff you could work out along the way, right? Hey Julie, hey Katrina. I don't even know where that is, Donna. But that sounds awesome. And I love that you're still traveling. So yeah, I think, at the beginning, so many of these things keep us stuck. Like yesterday, in Lit Up Live Coaching, we talked all about relationship building, and people that came on to coaching were at like 3 different phases of their business. So one person was like completely just starting out, like, how do I even build relationships with my content? One person was a little further along, but still like, how do I just start reaching out? And one person was like, how do I build more relationships as a leader? And I think so important, and why it's worth saying and seeing that progression, is that it's something that you want to start mastering at the beginning of your business, because it will follow you and you will have to get better at it and do it differently and find effective ways to keep doing it. But that is like always going to be the thing that's there. Whether you have the most sophisticated funnel on planet Earth or not, like its entire point is to build a relationship with your audience, right? Spain, thank Guggenheim Museum. Oh, so awesome. I've only been to Spain once, and I was only in Barcelona, but it was like my favorite city in Europe. So that's so awesome that you're there, Donna. I hope you're having the best time ever. Jess says, yes, people were building businesses long before the interwebs were even a thing, let alone funnels, social media, yada, yada. Exactly. And so I think sometimes what happens is like people get really like weird about Facebook or Instagram or funnels or any of those things. And like, if you can just reframe that all of those are just new platforms for building relationships, all of that becomes easier. And actually your next steps become so much easier too, right? It's not so confusing, like, oh my God, what's my funnel strategy? Or like, what's my strategy to get the next client? You can always take it back to like, how do I just go out and build a relationship? And that's actually how you get the next client. That's the funnel strategy, is how do you walk them through an automated way to build relationships. But, kind of stop thinking that it's the thing and not the thing under the thing. The thing might be like Facebook or Instagram or social media or funnels or whatever. The thing under the thing is always going to be relationships. So all of these marketing tactics and articles that are trying to scare you and tell you that you're going to be left behind in 2017 if you don't know this new thing are just totally trying to scare you or get you to buy their thing, which is going to teach you in some way, shape, or form how to build relationships. Promise. So go back to square one if you're feeling like, I don't know what my next step is in my business. I'm feeling stressed. I don't know how to get clients. I don't know how to get my next client. Just like sit down tonight and be like, how do I like to build relationships and how do I start doing that today, right? Taylor says, oh my goodness, yes, Lacey, being online is literally just talking to people. I always reframe it back to real life, aka in person, how would we normally act? Yeah, like even the idea of like, so a lot of my clients are INFJs and INTJs. That's not a requirement to be my client, just to be clear, but I seem to attract a lot of those. And the thing with that group is like all about the depth, right? And so many of my clients that are INFJs or INTJs kind of come to me and they're like, I friggin' hate Facebook. It's so shallow and I hate social media and whatever. And so much of it is that it's that reframe about like, well, it might not be as deep as you want, but you get to encourage the deep conversation. You get to build the relationship that then goes deeper. It's the path to depth, even though it doesn't start there. It's kind of like the first date instead of the marriage proposal, right? But still, there is a way in which we need to stop vilifying the thing or getting really caught up in the shiny object of the next thing and just take it back to basics. And the one thing that relationships are always, always, always going to be about, or business is always, always, always going to be about, is relationships. Rama, INTJ, yep, same. I'm an INTJ, but my T and F are like always on the line. So no matter what level you're at, no matter where you are in your business, I just want to offer this today as something to think about and as something to kind of take you back to your core. Talk about this a lot, but my mom's whole side of her family were entrepreneurs. Well before, social media. My grandfather owned quite a few companies, and some of their best friends to this day were clients of his and his business, and he was just phenomenal at building relationships, and that has lingered for his entire life and built all of his businesses. And he didn't have the luxury that we have of doing it in this way, of like me standing in my sweatshirt and yoga pants with my phone propped up in front of me and building a relationship like this. Like, it was so different, but it was always still the same thing. So this week, one of the things I'm talking about in this group is building relationships through your content, right? So in so much of our content, I think what we kind of try to do is like, how do I show up as like the perfect person or the perfect expert or say the right thing or do the right thing? And the reframe that I really just want to offer in regards to that is use your content to build relationships. That's its one and only purpose, right? Part of that is showing up as an expert, because certainly that makes you valuable to your tribe, right? Which is true even in real life. Like in your friendships, in your relationships, you want to be contributing something, right? There's probably something all of your friends come to you for, and there's probably something you go to your friends for different things. So it's really not that different when you show up with your expertise either. We do that in real life. I just think we get so weird about it because social media is such a new thing that it feels like this whole other planet and not like something that we're already doing. But take it back to basics. Like, what do all my friends come to me for? Cool. Can I talk about that when I show up? What am I processing right now? What am I feeling excited to talk about like I would with a friend? Then how do I show up and do that? Really there are ways to be strategic about it, and I'm totally about being strategic with content, but like not if your first foundation of it is not relationships, right? So what I mean by that is start there. Then we can add all the strategy around it. But start by thinking of your content just as a way to start engaging in conversation, to get to know people, to have them get to know you, and everything gets so much easier. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that if you're at a place in your business where you don't know the next move, or you're feeling unsure, or you're chasing that shiny object, or you're figuring out how to take it to the next level, my first and best piece of advice is take it back to relationship building and decide what you want to do from there and how you want to do that, and you will be shocked at how easily you figure out your next step or your next answer. The other thing I want to talk about today, well, first I just want to say if you have any questions on that, drop them below. I feel like I just always assume that people will do that, but that is my bad as a relationship builder, that I want to make sure I'm inviting that, kind of like we were talking about today in your content, like invite the engagement you want. So if you have any questions about relationship building, what kind of relationships you're building, what might be the next right step for you, and you're on here or listening to the replay, I would love for you to drop them below. In the meantime, I actually got a question on the Lit Up Live coaching thread that I want to answer. So feel free to type in your question while I answer this question. Allie says, speak in my language. Awesome. I hope you're having the best time ever. I know you're on vacation. You just had your conference. You're at Disney. I just hope you're soaking it up and enjoying so much time with your family. Okay, so I'm going to read it really quick. So the question I got on the Lit Up Live coaching thread was kind of like almost the opposite of what we talked about in the actual coaching yesterday, which is like not you building the relationship, but if you're on the receiving end. So she said, when you're on the receiving end of the reach out and you're not sure whether they are looking to connect as peers or if they are kind of like grooming and warming you up to being a client. Sometimes I'm not sure if I'm leading someone on if I respond to their advances, knowing that I'm not going to hire them, but I'm happy to have a relationship outside of that. Any way to clear this up without being really awkward? I love that question so much because I think we've all kind of been in that awkward position at one point or another, and I think people get awkward building relationships online. I mean, I'm probably awkward in relationships in person, so no judgment, but I think meaning like we don't know, gosh, what's the right way to respond to that? And what I would say is this, like you can never lose with honesty. As a coach and in sales, one of the things that's super important for me is to create safety. So when we talked about building relationships yesterday, we definitely talked about like being clear what type you're trying to build and all of that, because it creates that safety and not this situation where you're like, do you want me to be a client? Do you not? Like, are we maybe bordering the friendship zone? Are we not? Like super awkward, right? So what I would say in this case is always like full transparency. So even just asking, right? Like, I'm totally loving this conversation. I just want to be really transparent and say that I have a coach or I'm not looking for a coach, but I would love to continue to connect as peers if that feels good for you. Super direct, I get that. But I think that is always the best place to be. It will also really show you someone's true intention, right? Either they're going to keep trying to sell to you and you're like, okay, now it's a heck no because I've put my boundary up and you're not respecting it. Or they're going to very kindly be like, oh my gosh, I totally appreciate you telling me that because now I'm not going to spend, the next 10 days trying to like mold you into a client when I know that's not what's going to happen. Or they're going to be like, yeah, totally. Like I would love to connect as peers and we can continue that. But I think the honesty piece there is so important because A, there's just not enough of that online. And B, it's you setting a boundary and being the CEO of your business, right? So if you were the CEO of a very large company, you certainly wouldn't be just like entertaining all these random conversations anytime somebody wanted to talk to you, right? Like there would be a clear point and a clear outcome, and you would be pretty transparent about like, what's this meeting for? What's this conversation for? And you want to treat your business in the same way. Having a biz bestie is great. So I'm not saying like we don't even have time to have, personal conversations, but I am saying we don't have time to like kind of keep entertaining things that we don't know if it are going to serve us or if there's an even energy exchange there, right? Taylor says kind of like what I do when I want to be friends with a guy, but I don't want to lead them on. Totally, exactly. You're like, hey, I would love to, hang out again as friends. But if you're looking to date, like, that's not what I'm here for. I'm dating someone else, whatever. I think that's the perfect example. So here, whether you're applying it to dating or being a CEO or whatever, that transparency is so important in relationship building, period, right? So even in your content, being really straight up with your audience, even in your sales calls, all of that, like transparency is so undervalued. And I would even add authentic transparency is so undervalued. So if you're the person that can be that on a call, be that in your business, set those clear boundaries, it's going to be amazing how other people start showing up and reflecting those boundaries to you. I know like one of the things I hear from people a lot is like at the beginning of their business, they're getting a lot of people just like reaching out and trying to pick their brain and get stuff for free. And what I always say to my clients around that is like, well, have you set the boundary there yet? And usually it's no. And as soon as they do, it's miraculous how everyone stops messaging them and starts seeing them in a different way. Even if it wasn't the person they set the boundary with, it's just like that energetic idea of like, this is what I'm available for and this is what I'm not available for. So in those outreaches, when you're being authentically transparent, when you're setting that boundary, that like resonates all around your business, right? So I would say always don't be afraid to just say the thing in the kindest way you can and in a way that feels good to you. But people really do want that clarity. And if they don't, they probably didn't have good intentions anyway. So certainly always feel free to be really clear about that up front, not waste your time, be the CEO of your business, not waste their time, expect that they want to be the CEO of their business, and get super clear on what the intentions are from the beginning. So I hope that was helpful. You can check out Lit Up Live coaching that we did yesterday. It's about 50 minutes, and there's 3 coaching clients, and each are coached for like 15 minutes. So you can kind of break that up and watch it. But seriously, if you're struggling, if you're feeling stressed in your business, the one thing it's always going to be about is relationships. So take it back to that. Watch Lit Up Live coaching. See if you resonate with these women in the place that they're at, and see how you can apply relationship to your building to get to your business, your building, relationship building to your business to get your next client, to get your first client, or to up level, because no matter what, it's always the same and it always matters. So I hope you guys have an awesome day. If you're watching the replay, say hi to my dogs and let me know if you have any questions. I'll talk to you guys soon.